Halo semuanya, selamat sore, selamat siang, dan selamat malam. Selamat kembali bertemu dengan saya Agus Setiawan Basuni dalam program WartaJazz Monday Lounge. Pada kesempatan kali ini kita akan bertemu dengan tamu dari Australia. Hello everyone, this is Agus Setiawan Basuni and you are watching WartaJazz Monday Lounge, a program dedicated to promoting new works from any jazz artist from around the globe. So we had a very special guest right now, right in the other side of the globe, not very far. It's only, I think, about 3 or 4 hours away from Jakarta. So let's hi to Gene. Hi, Gene. How are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you, August?
I'm cool. Thank you for your time. And let's just jump into the conversation about your new works, which was released and launched at the end of last year. But beforehand, perhaps you wanna introduce yourself. Maybe some of our audience in Indonesia still don't know who you are and what instrument that you play and what kind of jazz music that you are interested. So let's ahead.
Okay, yeah. My name is Gene Shelby. I'm from Melbourne, and the jazz that I'm recording is basically modern jazz, fusion jazz, jazz rock, kind of R&B jazz, groovy stuff. But yeah, and I started this project in 2013 when I first went to Jakarta. And actually, I went to Bali for a holiday with my wife the first time and discovered the musicians were really good players in Bali, just rock players. But so I said to her, let's try Jakarta, and excuse me. So yeah, we tried Jakarta, and I met some players and kept going back. And every time I went back, I met more interesting musicians. I met a young guy called Hesky Joe, and yeah, and he introduced me to a lot of great players, and eventually I met more players and worked with some fantastic guys, Frankie Sadikan and Yonki and Ege, and yeah, so this is the music I've been recording in Jakarta for more than 10 years now, going back and recording two tracks at a time. And I had another CD before this one called Temple of Groove, which features the same kind of music, yeah, jazz fusion.
All right. Do you still remember who is the first musician that you met first time in Bali?
Sorry?
Who is the first musician that you've been meeting for the first time in Bali?
First time in Bali, I'm not sure the names. They were just guys playing in Legian in the little bars, just rock bands, pop bands. But I jammed with them and they had such a good feeling. And I said to my wife, this is amazing. These guys play with such a good natural feel. And that's how I basically started and based my thing on more natural, not so much theory, but more natural feel. And yeah, so that were just guys that were in Bali, but there are guys that live in Jakarta now from Bali that I work with. Kadek Rihardika, he's from Bali and well known in Jakarta now. But yeah, so it was just an introduction. Basically, I didn't get serious until I went to Jakarta and met some really good jazz players. And but even now, Bali has a very good jazz scene also. There's a guy called Kuba that I like working with. He lives there now, and yeah, so I'm not sure the first guys that I met that were just playing in Legion, Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, as you already mentioned that Bali now has a vibrant jazz scene.
Yes.
But it intrigues me to when did you decide that you really wanted to work with a Jakarta-based musician? I mean, is it incidentally when you were visiting Jakarta, or you are actually really meant to go there and really record with these musicians?
Well, yeah, what happened is that I really enjoyed playing with the guys in Bali, and years ago, I had a stopover in Jakarta in the old airport, And I said to my wife, Jakarta is a very, very big city. I'm sure that if there's these guys in Bali, Jakarta would have some fantastic players. So we just took a chance and went there. The first time, there was not much happening. We were just finding out about Jakarta, and it was actually New Year's Eve, and it was quite crazy actually because New Year's Eve was very difficult to get around. But so we just went there the first time, checking it out, and then the second time, it wasn't until the second time we went and we were staying in Tamrin. And I said to my wife, it was the middle of the day, we arrived, and I said, look, I'm going to just go down and take a walk around. And I met this guy. He had a guitar on his back, and he said, I said, is there any jazz clubs around here? And he was a jazz player. So, and his uncle is a famous jazz player, Chendi, drummer. And Heskey's a really talented young guitar player. He has his own band now with JA80. You may have heard of them, pop band. And so Heskey slowly introduced me to, I went and had a jam with him at WartaJazz, not far from where you are in Depok, right? WartaJazz
Yes,
in
it's
Depok.
actually just like I can see that from this side of this
Yes.
wall, you know.
Well, I stayed at Maragondha Apartments in Depok, so I love Depok. I have a soft spot for Depok, and from there, from there, Heskey would take me to jazz clubs, and I said, I'd go to jazz club, and for example, I said, "Who's that bass player?" He said, "That's Frankie Sadikin." I said, "Well, I've got to hook up with Frankie," and I found that they were very, very approachable. The great players in Jakarta, like Frankie and Yonki and Eggy, and I did some two tracks with Yang and Indro Hajodikoro, fantastic musicians, and I just realized playing with these guys that they're world class, and for me, they're like outside of New York and the States. Indonesia has some of the finest musicians, and talking with Mike Stern, a lot of guys that have been at WartaJazz, they agree. They said, look, great players. The players in Indonesia are fantastic. So, and it was very hard for me to find that in Australia, in all of Australia, very hard to find. There's great players here. Don't get me wrong. There's great players here, and a lot very theory great players, but just as far as the feel, these guys in Indonesia just immediately struck me with their feel, the way they play. They sound American, and so I just fell in love with it straight away, and just been looking for someone since I went to Berklee a long time ago, looking for people to record with, and could never really get that situation in Australia. So yeah, I discovered these guys, and then kept going back every time. And there were so many great players in Australia. I'm struggling to get a couple here and there, but in Jakarta there was so many great players that I had to try them all. So I used Indro, and then I used Frankie on bass, and I used Mates, another legend on bass, and Ahmad Ananda on guitar, Yang Che on guitar, quite a different lot of musicians. But so I ended up recording a large amount of songs, and I would love to be there, but it's very difficult with my dogs. I have three dogs, and being based in Australia, but I'd really love to be in Jakarta and playing music there because it's very small in Australia. The industry is very, very small. So, but yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about the album. What is your concept of this newest album that you just launched?
The style or concept of it. Yeah, basically, I grew up with a lot of R&B music before I got heavily into jazz. I was in high school. I started playing drums when I was 10. So by the time I was in high school, I was listening to George Benson and a lot of groovy stuff. And so yeah, so as I got into jazz over the years, that kind of stayed with me. So and Indonesian musicians are very incredibly great at playing R&B and jazz grooves. So the album is kind of groovy jazz fusion kind of music, which features a lot of soloing, like good playing from good jazz players, but based around that kind of groovy stuff, fusion groovy jazz. Um,
Okay. And you were saying that you keep coming back when you all work on this one. And I saw within this album there are 8 tracks. Perhaps you can elaborate what is the like its individual track is talking about? Is it like a one fine line, or is it like an individual? I mean, like a totally different song on each tracks.
Yeah, they are kind of different, the tracks for sure. The tracks are kind of different. And with jazz, I guess um there's no limit like with commercial music. But I think my tracks do have a similar sound running through them. But some of the tracks are different because on the first album, Temple of Groove, Indro wrote one of the Indro helped me write one of the songs. Um, and then I had Frankie wrote one song called Rainy Day, which is really, really nice. Rainy Day is on both my albums. Actually, I put it on Melton as well. But Rainy Day is a slow ballady kind of song, but it has an incredible feel and really amazing feel about it. So my songs have got a certain sound, and the songs that are recorded by the other guys also have a certain sound, but it blends in together. It all does sound like one uniform album, but they are slightly different because of different writers. And Indonesians, very, very easy to, they create very creative. I'm the same. I like to sit down and write a song in 10 minutes, half an hour. Indonesians are the same, and I found that the quicker that you get that idea out, the stronger it is. The more time you labor on writing a song, days and days and days, it seems to take away the energy. But one of the songs, I said to the keyboard player, we were in the studio, I said, do you have an idea? And he said, yeah, I've got this song, Eggy. And he played the song, and I said, okay, great. And we just recorded it. So another great thing that I found with Indonesia that's very unique is that all of the songs on all of my recordings, there was no rehearsals, there was no charts. We just arrived at the studio, and Indonesians have an amazing ear where they can just listen to something and play. I'm the same. I grew up that way. In Australia, they're a bit nervous. If you ring some musicians and say, listen, I want to go to the studio, there's no charts, there's no rehearsals, let's just record, they get a bit nervous. But Indonesians, they are comfortable, that's in their zone. So all the songs, and people love the energy of the album. And I said to them, look, the energy is because there's no rehearsals, there was no planning. They'd never heard the songs before we recorded them. We just got to the studio, we rehearsed, I showed them the ideas, and then we had a quick rehearsal, and then okay, let's record. And so, and it was usually one take. We tried a couple, like a few times. The guitar player Nanda would say, look, let's try one more take just in case. But you know what, the second take never sounded as good. So first take always captured that beautiful energy. And Miles Davis and a lot of great, even the Beatles, John Lennon, a lot of U2, a lot of great bands and artists know that secret, that if you go into a studio with too much prepared, you end up leaving with not a lot of magic, But if you have a skeleton of what you want, an idea, and then you finish it in the studio, because the studio always produces that magic. Everyone's excited, they're recording. So that's what we did, and I was surprised the first time. I said to Frankie, I said, do you want me to send you the songs? And he said, no, don't worry, brother. Just we'll get to the studio and we'll just learn it. And I said, wow, that's great. That's my style. But in Australia, I tried that, and guys, before we even talk about recording, it's like, I want to hear the music. Can you send me the songs? What sort of songs are they? And can I listen to them? They're all nervous. And with Indonesians, like, don't worry, brother, let's just get to the studio and record. And amazingly, we didn't have any problems with having to redo like takes. Everything was one take, and no mistakes, no whatever, just one take, and you can hear that on the album. The energy is great. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I suppose that because as Herbie Hancock was mentioning, that jazz is being in the moment, and
Yes.
the moment was there when you work with the Indonesian musicians. And is there any particular things that you finding out when you encounter, especially with these Indonesian jazz musicians, that you think become like a sort of distinctive way of playing or interpretation, or I mean, I'm talking about like a professionalism, because oftentimes that people also talk like, no, you have to write everything down before you do everything. I mean, like it's like a robot, because you already like a prescripted everything. What is your thought on that?
Well, the thing that makes them so great, Indonesia, a lot of musicians that I work with, is the fact that they can work without charts. They can work without all of that planning and stuff, and they have amazing sense of natural ears and natural ability to just to start playing and being able to play without rehearsing, and that's what really drew me to them to start with, because I went to WartaJazz with Heskey and we got up and played, and I was just like, I've been looking for this my whole life, guys that can just get up there and play and not worry about, charts and stagnant robot. Australian musicians are great, but they've always, every time I do a gig, they bring the charts and they're looking at the charts, reading. And I think it takes away a lot from the performance when you're reading. Like if an actor was to hold his lines and read from a prompter or read his lines, the actor would look very artificial. So you've got to learn your lines with music like you do with acting. But definitely Indonesians have their own sound. I really, really, really love the sound that they have. It's based from American sound, but they have their own flavor in there, and you can hear it more so in people like Glenn Fredly, Indra Lesmana. Glenn Fredly's cousin Aldisha produced a pop song. I also do pop songs, and I sing and play guitar, and I found that Indonesians have their own unique style of playing music and R&B and jazz, and I think they're so not known about. I mean, there's not many people know about Indonesian musicians. Dave, the promotion guy that I work with in the States, that contacted you, Dave from Powderfinger, he was really surprised as well. He said, "Wow, these guys are amazing." When he heard Frank, he said, "Who's that bass player?" Frankie's playing this crazy slap stuff. Sounds like two people. But so definitely the standard of musician in Indonesia is really, really, really high. And I've found that, there's great players in all of Asia. Singapore has great players, Philippines and Thailand, but Indonesians special. Indonesians have this really American sound. And in fact, when I first did the CD and went back to Perth, because I'm originally from Perth, and even in Melbourne, when I started passing it around to musicians, they were literally like a bit shocked to hear the quality of these guys and how it sounded natural and the feel. And a lot of guys didn't want to work with me because they didn't think they could maybe reproduce that same sound. And I had a big problem trying to get players in Australia to play with me with my CD, because it was so powerful. And the fact that these guys and the Aussie guys hear it and think, wow, these guys are amazing. One guy said to me, look, it's going to be difficult to find the same type of players in Australia because these guys have such a natural feel. And when you think about jazz, that's how it was initiated. Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, jazz was initiated by guys that weren't 100 million% theory and robotic with charts and reading music. They were more like natural players. And Indonesia has that strength. They have a lot of natural ability. And for me, it's like I've never really recorded any music with any jazz players in Australia. The only recorded music I have is with Indonesian guys. So, and
Okay.
I'll continue to go. I go to the same studio all the time in Selatan, Backbeat Studio. The guy's name's Agus, also the studio manager there, and the sound is so good. Little studio, Backbeat, the all analog digital, but very, very good sound as well, recording at the studio. So yeah, I've been going there for a long time, and I'm planning to go back this year sometime to do some more new tracks as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the we're gonna play the vinyl funk later on, but I would like to dig a little bit because intriguing me with the title. It's called Kretek Dreams. So
Oh
let's
yeah.
talk about what is the story behind the Kretek Dreams.
Kritek Dreams was a song basically that I had this loop. I created this little loop on my computer and a really nice sort of smooth jazz. And I said to the guys, I've got this song I want to try. And it didn't have a name back then. So when I started going to Indonesia, I smoked cigarettes many, many, many years ago. I gave up cigarettes. But when I went to Indonesia, I bought some Kritek cigarette, but in a little metal tin, like a souvenir metal tin. And I brought them as a souvenir, basically, and I brought them back to Australia. And one day, for some reason, I said, "Look, I want to try these Kritek cigarettes." So I tried the Kritek cigarette, and I thought, "Wow, this is amazing." So I started smoking Indonesia because you can't buy them in Australia. Kritek cigarettes, very difficult. So I started smoking Kritek cigarettes, and then when I come back to Australia, I would stop because you can't get them here. I bring a pack back or something like that. And I had a couple of dreams of walking somewhere. I didn't know where I was in my dream. You know, when you're in a dream, you don't know some location somewhere. And in my dream, saying, "Oh, this shop over here, I think they sell Kretek cigarettes," because I was always looking for in Australia some tobacconists that may have Kretek cigarettes. So for some reason, I made that song Kretek Dreams, dreaming of Kretek, trying to find some Kretek cigarettes. Oh my God,
I
it
see.
sounds crazy. But when I don't think too much about the names. When I think about the name of a song, I try and do it the same way when I'm writing music. Try and do it as fast as I possibly can. The first thing that comes into my mind. I don't think about it too much. So somehow I just let the emotion of the song give me some name. And at the time, that song I just came up with Crew Dreams. Yes.
I see. So the perhaps you could explain us what is your creative process? I mean, like, what is your first initial take before? I mean, like finally meet with the guys, and of course doing all the spontaneous based on your instruction. And I believe, I mean, I would imagine that some conversation in a studio will get a touch up, or even like. Leverage the song itself. But perhaps you can explain your methodology on your creative.
Um, yeah, basically there wasn't really a lot of planning or strategy. I basically just brought some ideas that I created and showed them to the guys, and the piano player would work the chords and the arrangement out and put some nice voicings in there and stuff, and then we just basically record it. So there was not really any method behind it, just natural, just using the guys, their feeling, they put their feel into it. And I basically let the guys, every time I record, even to now, like I basically let them be free and just play exactly what they want to play. I don't kind of organize the song and how I want it to sound or how I want them to play or what sort of style. I just basically say, this is the shell of the song, and the piano player, works out the chords, and when then we rehearse it once or twice just to get all the accents right and everything. But I leave it basically up to them to create. So there wasn't really a lot of planning as far as the style or the sound. It basically just came out one take, improvised the way we did it. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Mm.
Now we talk about the Reno funk. I just doing a very quick review. The intro is a really nice line by Frankie. Is it his own ideas to do that, or is it some direction from you?
No, that was the whole part, the part of this the yeah the basically the song was that bass line. So when I got that song together, Rhino Funk, I had that bass line, and yeah, so basically that was kind of like the theme of the song. As you hear, it starts with that. So I basically had that theme, and Frankie just put his feel into it, and we just worked the song around that. And I didn't play guitar on that and put some little ideas as well. So yeah, just that one. All the other songs, Frankie has his own feel that he's put in there, that he's composed. But Rhino Funk's probably the only one where the bass line was already there because it's part of the song, like you said in the intro.
I see.
Yeah.
Alright. So, teman-teman semua yang baru menonton program Warta Jazz Monday Lounge, kita sedang ngobrol dengan Gene Shelby aslinya dari Perth tapi sekarang tinggal di Melbourne. Dan tahun lalu dia merilis karya yang dimana karya tersebut menampilkan beberapa orang musisi Indonesia, di antaranya ada Frankie Sadikin, Yongki Vincent, kemudian ada Adin Ismail, Richard Hutapea, dan tentu saja juga ada dua tamu internasional, legendary atau gitaris yang sudah sangat terkenal, Mike Stern dan Frank Gambale.